Hi, Susan.
Hi, Jesse. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
All right. How's Ruthie?
She's good. We practiced the come. She's not picking that up as quickly as as she did the heel, but we're going to work on it some more today.
Oh, the recall?
Yeah, the recall. Yeah, yeah. Um, she's asleep right now, but I can wake her up. Just
No worries.
let me know what you want to do.
So this is for the door, correct?
Right. Right. And
Um,
I can move my computer in a way that allows you to see the entryway. You just need
sure.
to let me know when you'd like that to occur.
Yeah. So we'll do a quick little review that we're understanding everything correctly, and then we'll do some practice runs.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. It's really just knowing how to do it in your setting,
Mm-hmm.
and then just practicing essentially. And there's ways you can incorporate it throughout the day, so you get used to using the presence of pushing her back.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get it down, you just use it as you need it. Um, so you think here, just a quick heads up, like around 1 o'clock, I have to give someone something, so I might have to get
No
up for a
problem.
second.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of stuff going on today. Okay, so were you able to watch the whole
I did.
video? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I did.
So it's a simple concept, and I use this for, that dog that you saw was territorial aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone just came in, she would charge and bite at them.
Mm-hmm.
In Ruthie's case, she's nervous and most likely would just keep barking if she doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
it. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens when of course, when someone knocks is she becomes territorial. It's normal. Almost all dogs do it. In my opinion, it's healthy because
Mm-hmm.
it's security to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when someone knocks and you open the door, as silly as it sounds, Ruthie doesn't know that you're opening the door because you trust them and you know them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's just kind of, she doesn't connect that. So it's just like, okay, there was a sound that I didn't know. And then all of a sudden there's a person I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it is a person that she's seen 100 times because she's nervous, it doesn't allow her to um, be curious about them and like warm up to them like she would with anybody within the home.
So that's more of that's the failure to recognize that she has for people that come in over and over again is more a feature of her temperament, because our other dog would bark a couple times when anyone came to the door, but as soon as she figured out it was somebody she knew, which she did really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
she stopped barking.
Mm-hmm.
So you think that's mainly because Ruthie's just
She's nervous.
anxious? Yeah, yeah,
I see it all the time.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. It's super common because what happens is when she becomes territorial, she goes under stress,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's for you or for humans, it's not uncommon to have people come over, friends, family,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, Domino's,
Mm-hmm.
pizza deliveries. But for dogs, that's not how their world works.
Mm-hmm.
So like wolves, if they find a stray wolf in their domain, they kill it,
Mm-hmm.
territory.
Mm-hmm.
So your home is her territory.
Mm-hmm.
So having you know people over that are outside of the trusted circle. So anybody within the home is the
Mm-hmm.
norm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then anybody she's met prior to like how do you say making that psychological shift of I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be suspicious of certain people now are
Mm-hmm.
like safe. Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
her norm. But anybody outside of that, after that switch, they tend to be off limits.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen this over the course of 10 years. It's super common. It's nothing good or bad. It's just it is what it is. But that's what this exercise is for.
Okay.
Is for Ruthie. So the knock happens or the doorbell. She triggers because she's like, what's going on? What's that sound?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then if no one addresses that territorial behavior gets intertwined with nervousness,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't know how to settle.
Okay.
Okay, and then that's how dogs stay stuck. In that, like, if like let's say the person comes in, she'll be barking for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then like they sit down, and like 20 minutes
Mm-hmm.
goes by, and she calms down. and all of a sudden they stand up, and then all of a sudden
Right.
barking again, right? That's a very common nervous feature.
She does that all the time. Yeah.
Yes. So humans, like, we can self-regulate once we are aware of something. If you know, if I'm nervous of like going on an interview,
Mm-hmm.
right? uh, you know, like, you can educate yourself to better prepare yourself for the interview, like most common questions, you know, do test interviews and stuff like that to feel better about it. You're still going to be nervous,
Yeah.
but then after you go on like 100 interviews, like, it doesn't even really phase you anymore, you know, but because humans are proactive,
Right.
you know, we can confront something. Whereas for Ruthie, she's reactive. So she doesn't wake up one day thinking like, I'm going to confront this nervousness and, you know, not be so barky anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole purpose of this exercise is to de-escalate Ruthie and remove that territorial mindset and tell her like, hey, like, there's no need to be territorial. This is
Mm-hmm.
our guest.
Mm-hmm.
But also the physicality of it to just taper her down, calm her
Mm-hmm.
down, much like the heel did out in the, you know, out in public in the real world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a very similar approach. But this one is, it's not as simple as, you know, stop barking, because the barking is just a symptom.
Mm-hmm.
It's just her saying somebody's here who's going to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not proper communication back, and you can say, Ruthie, it's our friend, and hug them like you did with the previous dog, but for her, it's just not working because she's
Mm-hmm.
nervous,
Yeah.
you know? And Elizabeth with Luna noted kind of the same thing, where she said with Luna, like, if she hugged somebody and like made contact with them, she would then like kind of like, oh, okay, like, this is a trusted
Mm-hmm.
person. But if there's not been any of that contact from Elizabeth, and
Yeah.
it doesn't trust them. So, you know, it happens. It's not super common that I get a dog like that, but more often than not, they have follow along the lines of Ruthie, where it's territorial, suspicious, or um, territorial, but then when they see it's a person and they love people, they just get excited and like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, start jumping on them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, any questions so far?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So we're gonna do, there's gonna be two aspects to this. One is the initial part of backing her up that you saw in that video.
Mm-hmm.
The other one would be maintenance while the guest is there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So after you've done the exercise, you know, let's say everything settles, and instead of taking, how long does Ruthie take generally to settle down after like a guest comes over?
What would you say, Amanda? Like 15 minutes, maybe?
Okay.
Some 15, 20 minutes sometimes shorter, sometimes longer.
Okay.
We've had very few guests, so I'm mainly thinking about like my sister and her husband and her kids. They've been
Gotcha.
over here several times, and
Sure.
it takes a while. And she's gotten to know them,
Sure.
you know, pretty well by now.
Do any of them have like a bigger energy, like kind of more
Yeah,
boisterous?
yeah. I would say 2 out of the 4 have really big personalities. Yeah,
Okay. So nervous energy and big personalities don't mesh well.
yeah.
So they would take the longest for her to kind of get used to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's super common. And also, when it takes a dog that long to settle
Mm-hmm.
from a door knock, whatever, like, a lot of times it's anxiety, nervousness, or fear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that with this exercise, it's not going to take 15 minutes or longer. It's going to take a couple minutes. Okay. Until a couple of seconds, like, as you repeat it and go along.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll get easier. The next thing is going to be, you know, if those relatives come over and those two personalities are there, you're going to have to be doing maintenance where it's like, hey, you don't have to be so responsive
Mm-hmm.
to this energy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's super simple. It's, you know, someone would be in charge of Ruthie. They would have their remote collar.
Mm-hmm.
We'd find the appropriate number. We tell everybody, be normal. Don't
Mm-hmm.
change anything. Because you want to get her used to that. Right. So the way it works is, let's say someone jumps up and claps, Ruthie barks in response.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
a nervous response, right? Is you would then correct her with the remote
Mm-hmm.
as soon as it happens.
Right.
And then we'd have to figure out the number.
Right.
So like, you could tell, you know, like another human, like, don't get startled when someone jumps up and claps, right?
Mhm.
And they can already kind of have that in their head.
Mhm.
Ruthie doesn't have that. So the way we break these patterns is it's stimulus, response, correction.
Okay.
Okay. And we don't say anything with the correction here because I want Ruthie to learn to self regulate.
Mhm.
So in her mind, it's uh, clap, I barked, and then there was e-collar.
Mhm.
So then like maybe 30 minutes goes by and then somebody else jumps up and claps, right? And you might see that quick movement, but then she stops.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because the brain's predicting I'm gonna get tapped,
Mhm.
but then she doesn't. So then she starts to go, oh, they jumped up and
Mhm.
clapped. I got nervous for a second, but I didn't bark, but I also didn't get e-collar.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that's how they start to process and learn things is it takes time and repetition. And essentially just letting people be people. If we're not worried about any kind of aggressive response, I just let the people be normal
Yeah.
and then have Ruthie adapt to it. So eventually she'll learn I can be around this energy and not be so edgy.
Mhm.
Okay? Now,
Mhm.
getting her to like that energy is a totally different conversation.
Yeah. Right.
Okay?
Right.
So
Right.
what we just need here from her is simply coexistence.
Mhm.
And you might find that if those personalities are over, that Ruthie may just remove herself from the room
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
she's going, oh, they're here, and I already know I don't like these energies, but I know I'm going to also get tapped if I bark
Yeah.
at them. That you might see her just remove
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I personally don't care if she does that,
Mhm.
unless she starts barking from the other room, because now
Right.
it's
Right.
distant.
Right.
Okay, and it sounds silly, but even like let's say she goes into a different room
Mhm.
and the same person that clapped the first time does it again,
Yeah.
she doesn't know it's the same person. She doesn't connect that. She just
Right.
thinks I'm in this room and I hear another sound, so then I'm going to trigger again. Okay, and we would simply correct it. We don't say anything here like no, stop, or quiet, no bark,
No command.
because I want Ruthie to learn the pattern herself of if I bark
Mhm.
in response to something because I'm nervous, I get corrected.
Mhm.
If you say quiet and then you correct her, you technically always have to say quiet in order for her to stop.
Mhm.
That's the difference. Okay. So then every time Ruthie barks because somebody moves, you're saying quiet. And I want her to just learn that when she gives into that nervous response, correction automatically happens. And the only
Mhm.
way to avoid it is she
Mhm.
not to do it. Okay.
So how do dogs then differentiate between times they should bark? I mean, because I think it's great that she barks,
Mhm.
when there's a stranger at the door, at least
Correct.
until I let them in, or at the back,
Correct.
it's a good thing, I think.
Correct. So there's two ways about this. We have controlling and eliminating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with the front door exercise, we're not eliminating, we're controlling
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because there's conversation. There's
Mm-hmm.
something prior that's telling her when I do this, you stop barking and you calm
Mm-hmm.
down.
Mm-hmm.
When we eliminate, we simply remote for the behavior with no warning. Okay. So when a guest is already in the home, like your family, we
Mm-hmm.
already know we don't need Ruthie to bark at them.
Right.
So she's
Right.
learning when I bark at these particular people, once
Yeah.
they're already within the home, there's a
Yeah.
correction.
Yeah.
But she'll still bark if, like, let's say everybody was there and then you had another guest come over and
Yeah. She's
when you
gonna
go bark,
still right.
bark. If
Oh,
she
right.
hears something suspicious outside, she's still going to bark.
Mm-hmm.
Because dogs learn in context.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Okay.
it gets very specific and we can really fine tune it.
Okay.
So like I get clients whose dogs bark out the front window and they don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
But they want the dog to bark at the front door.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
them you correct with no warning at the window, but when it comes to the front door, we have to have
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
And the dog will differentiate
Correct.
eventually. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All
Now
right.
you may see it's really rare, but you may see a dip in barking.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to address it. It's super rare that it happens, but like let's say for instance, you notice you're correcting her for barking at guests once they're within the home, but then but you also notice, oh, she stopped barking at the front door,
Mm-hmm.
right? What we do is we just have to build it back up and like encourage her to bark.
Mm-hmm.
And you're essentially telling her like, yeah, you can bark here,
Mm-hmm.
but once I've opened we've done this exercise and I opened the
Mm-hmm.
door, you can then settle.
Okay.
Okay? Let's say someone knocks on the door and you're looking through the the door hole, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You don't recognize the person,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't address Ruthie,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then you can open the door and you still have Ruthie there barking, and then when you open it,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's the
Yeah.
maintenance guy or whatever, and you can close it. Then you can back her away, settle her down, and then go
Mm-hmm.
back to open the door. And at that point, she wouldn't be allowed to bark.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, dogs are very it gets pretty
There she goes.
it gets pretty specific. But the main thing is, I want you to think when you're working with Ruthie, just think to yourself, do I want to control this or do I want to eliminate it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you want to eliminate it, you simply correct no warning.
Right.
If you want to control it, we need some kind of word. Let's say, um, are you guys like in the condo building or
We're in a
townhouse?
building with 4 units, so there's a door that we have to buzz people through, and then a long hall, and then the 4 homes are 2 on each side.
Gotcha. So you have people like walking down the hallway.
Yeah, a person who comes and cleans it. In fact, she was going nuts this morning because the cleaning person was out there.
Gotcha. So like let's say in that setting, like, there's somebody walking down the hallway and Ruthie is barking.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to eliminate it, but you want to control it.
Yeah.
Because that person in the hallway has nothing to do with you,
Mm-hmm.
you could use a blanket term like quiet
Mm-hmm.
and then follow with the correction.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, then she learns I can bark until I hear this cue.
Till I hear the cue. Okay.
Yes. So the difference between a person walking in the hallway and a person ringing the buzzer and knocking on your door
Mm-hmm.
is the person knocking on your door has to do with the home.
Mm-hmm.
They may enter the home,
Yeah.
either like dropping off a package or
Right.
delivering food.
Mm-hmm.
It requires you to open the door.
Yeah.
Right? So that one, there has to be more conversation because you have to let Ruthie know, like, hey, you don't need to bark. This is a trusted guest. You can settle down now.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, she just stays stuck in like, what's going on? I don't know how to handle it.
Right.
Okay. So, because if you said quiet, what you would get is you would shut down the barking behavior, but Ruthie would still be nervous and kind of like edgy on why the person is there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this exercise is meant to dial her down completely to get her as passive as possible.
Yeah, so she's comfortable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
So then what you may see is like people that she's seen several times but just hasn't warmed up to because she's nervous is because you dialed her down and calmed her down, curiosity comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she's in suspicion, she never cares about like
Yeah.
the person fully. So when you shut that down, it allows for curiosity to come out, and then over time you'd see her eventually potentially warm up to the person.
Mm-hmm.
What I suggest is when you dial her down and stuff, and like she seems calmer, maybe she's even walking up to the person to sniff them, is you have the person ignore her.
Mm-hmm.
Because typically people see the sniff and they go, oh, hey, and they go to say hi.
Yeah.
And she starts barking again, right?
Right.
So I ignore Ruthie until one day you may find like when she's seen them like 20 times or whatever, she might go up to them and like put her nose on their hand.
Yeah, she's done that with my sister.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's her saying like, okay, like, I've seen you a few times.
Mm-hmm.
No bad experiences.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ruthie, whatever.
Okay.
But in her case, I would just wait for her to come out because if you try to push it with the people moving to her, it's just going to re-trigger, and then you're like making steps forward and steps back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's a simple exercise that we'll cover too the next time I see you guys in terms of getting her to warm up more quickly, and we can use the e-collar for that. But in the beginning, I just go ignore her, leave her alone, and then we'll slowly kind of build her up. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, I think I got it.
Is Ruthie currently collared up?
Yes, she's up. She's all ready to go. Where is she? Over by you, Mike?
Yeah, she is.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
she is.
Does she have a leash on?
No, but I can put a leash on her.
So let's go ahead and put a leash on,
Okay.
and then we'll leave it dragging. We don't need it in our hands. It's more so in case we step on something.
Her e-collar? Yes. Yeah. No. Come here, baby. Thank you. Oh my gosh, she's so funny. What was that? Puppy. Okay, pup. Come on. Oh, come on. She's so sleepy. Here we go. Okay, I got her.
Alrighty. And where's the front door here?
Here, let me, Amanda, could you? So.
Okay.
This is our front door.
Sure. And then I see like we have a couch right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a chair, 2 chairs, and then, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Could you do just like a quick circle so I can see the whole room?
Sure, yeah, sure. So.
Hello. All right. Very good. Okay, simple enough. So then, so you got that room and that opens up into kind of was like a dining room area?
Yeah, it's all one big room, but the dining area would probably be the area we'd want to back her up to.
Okay, I see. So you want to push back even more.
I would think it would be best to kind of get her, that kitchen's awfully far. Yeah, I think the dining room would be fine, the dining area, yeah.
And then right.
It's really not that far. It's kind of like a little misleading. It's right there.
Okay.
Yeah, the kitchen's way far back.
I see.
Yeah.
And then just behind you there, is that go through as well? Or is that just like a little corridor?
You mean this thing?
Yeah, go ahead and move to your right.
Yeah. On your right. Oh, my right. Yeah, there's a stairway. There's a stairway to the upstairs and to the downstairs.
Oh, it's blocked off? Okay.
Yeah, it's blocked. We usually block the stairway off during the day to just keep her on. We like to keep eyes on her still.
For sure. Yeah, that's not a problem. It makes things easier.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do here is I like the idea if you want to flush her back towards the dining room area.
Okay. Yeah.
I would use that little dresser that's there on the side just before the table.
Yeah.
The furthest end of that dresser, I want you to imagine that it marks an imaginary threshold there.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this exercise isn't about obedience, okay? It's not about, sit, stay, down, stay, any of that stuff.
Right.
It's about kind of like with me growing up, my mom would send me to my room if she had friends come over.
Yeah.
So that was my threshold was that door, but I could open and close it, right? So you're essentially doing the same thing is you're flushing Ruthie back past that threshold and you're telling her, I don't care what you do, but just don't come over here.
Right.
Okay? Now, you're going to have probably a couple of issues here. One is she's most likely going to probably try to flush into that little corridor area. Okay.
Yeah.
So I like that you have it blocked off with the little fence there because she would most definitely try to run up. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here is when we do this exercise, what's Ruthie's level currently?
She's at 26 right now. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
26.
26? Okay, we're going to dip that down. We're going to go to like 18 or so.
Okay.
And there's going to be a bit of confusion in the beginning. The first few are like the most difficult because the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks actually, remote has meant to either return to me or to walk at my side. Okay. So she's probably going to default into these obedience type behaviors. So very important that when we do this, we don't say anything like heel, come, sit, stay, none of that stuff. Okay. And I want you to think that the front of your body, the way you're pointing is the direction you're going to direct Ruthie. Okay. So if you need to send her straight back, you would just move straight forward. If you needed to move her to your left, right, because it's kind of angled left, you would be in front of her and pushing her that way. Okay. So you'd be moving into her. So you're always facing.
How close am I to her?
You might be right there to her. Okay. And if she gets confused, you might see her sit down.
She sits down a lot. that's her default now.
Yes.
The E.
The collar.
Yeah.
So it's normal. So in this context, she has to learn that the collar means to give space, not to sit or move to your side. Okay, so there's gonna be a bit of confusion. It's normal. And if she sits down, what you're gonna do is you can use the side of your foot, and I just push against her rear, and I just keep pushing as I'm tapping, and eventually the scooting, it gets uncomfortable, that she'll get up and start to walk away. And we're tapping until she gets past that imaginary threshold. Okay. Once she's past the threshold, I don't care if she sits, I don't care if she lays down or whatever, as long as she's completely behind the threshold. Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll put their front paws just over the line. You have to back her up if we see that. Okay. We might also see her try to hop on the furniture. So that's what the leash is for. So if she did hop on the furniture, you would just continue tapping and use the leash to direct her off of the couch, and then again place yourself to direct her back towards the dining room area. Okay. This could take upwards of 10 to 15 minutes for the first go.
Yeah.
Very important that she gets it and that you complete it, because the next time it'll only be like 2 to 3 minutes. Because she's got to figure out what to do. Once she's figured it out and she goes, oh, this is not about sit, it's not about heel, it's not about stay or any of that stuff, you'll see that she'll get it much easily and actually give you that, you'll move and walk towards her and you'll start to see her walk away. Okay. Now, when she's behind the threshold, we don't say stay, we don't say anything. Okay.
We don't praise either.
It's expected that it's expected that she stays there, because it's like you're sending her to her room. Okay. Do we have any questions so far?
I don't think so.
Okay. So do we have someone who's going to be ringing the doorbell and stuff?
Yeah, Mike is going to do it, my husband.
Okay, so let's go and have Mike step out behind the door and wait about a minute or so.
Okay, all right. Are you ready, Mike? Yeah. You don't want to try that. You can try it, yeah. Yeah, someone took my keys, actually, the keys to my car. I don't know.
So try the bathroom, try to strip.
Yeah, I think I have a burger.
I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
We'll go and have him knock or ring the bell.
Knock a little louder.
Okay.
She's not running to the door though. Hold on. Why isn't she running to the door like she always does?
Yeah, where's she barking from? The
She's
dining
barking
area?
from the other side of the room where my daughter is.
Oh,
Yeah.
have your daughter come over.
Yeah, you can come over. No, she's just sitting. Should I have him knock again?
Yeah. See what
Knock,
happens.
Mike.
There she goes. Okay, cool. So now you go ahead and stand behind Ruthie and tap and stand right there. Keep by the door like you were. By the door. There you go. Right there. Tap, tap, tap. Stay where you are. Tap. No, so you want to stand, you want to keep still. And then go ahead and bump it to 22.
Okay.
Stand where you are, tap, 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 tap. 24. Tap, tap. So she by that little chair, that the edge of the couch there.
You probably can move her out.
So
She doesn't seem to be really reacting to it much.
go ahead and go to 26.
Yeah.
Tap, tap. Any response from her?
Can you see her? No. She's twitching. She's twitching a little bit.
Okay, but she's not moving. Let's try 28. Tap, tap, tap. 30, but she feels it.
Can you tell she feels it, honey? I can't really see it.
I'm not seeing any.
No, we're not seeing anything. Turn it up.
Do a test vibrate.
Like this. That's this thing.
No, it's not paging.
Okay, so then it's the collar's not on.
Yeah, we gotta reconnect.
All right, we'll try.
She was twitching though. So
Yeah, yeah. She was.
When you turn it on, check if the light is green or red.
Okay.
I know.
I'll hold her.
That's okay, got her. Oh, back on. It's already on. It's so hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's connected.
Is it hit the pager and look at the light and see if it's green or red.
Green.
Green.
Okay, cool. Because if it was twitching and then turned off, I thought perhaps it was out of power.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. It looks like the battery's pretty full. Okay. So should I have him knock again?
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and then also reset our numbers. We'll go down to 22.
Okay. All right. I'll do that.
And then when you're tapping, just stand like where you were at, right in front of the door, and then I'll coach you from there, okay?
Okay. Okay, Mike, knock.
Okay, now tap, tap. Now turn to face Ruthie. Tap, and you want to move towards, yeah, now cut in front of her. So you want to use your body forward like to flush her out of that area so that you can, you want to come from behind, exactly. Tap, 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 exactly. Until she hits the threshold.
She's past it.
She's past it?
Yeah, she's all the way in the kitchen.
Okay, great. Now go ahead and go to your door. And then you can open it and greet Mike.
Hello, Mike. Hello.
Oh, here. Wait right there. Turn. Tap, 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 tap. What is she doing now?
She's just laying down.
Okay. How does she look? Alert or does she look?
Looks alert, but her head's up and
Okay.
she's looking. She's
Go to 26.
growling a little bit. She's
Go to
growling.
26.
What's that?
26.
Okay.
And tap,
That's not very loud. Oh, sorry.
tap, tap. What does she look like now?
She's just on the couch, just sitting.
Is her head up? Is her head down? Ears up?
Kind of down now. Yeah. She looks
Okay.
kind of relaxed at this point.
Okay, good. And then go ahead and continue with Mike. Like hello, like just energy.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Come on in.
Tap. So we're gonna, yep, go to face her, tap.
Okay.
And then what is she doing?
She jumped up. Now she's just quietly walking over, see what's going on.
So don't let her pass the threshold.
I won't. She's by the table.
Okay. She's still standing?
Yeah, she's still standing and she's still in the area. Now she's moving into the kitchen.
Okay. Give her a couple of taps here. And just tell me what she does.
Here she comes. Okay, now she's right. No, she's past the threshold now.
Okay. So she's on the wrong side, right?
Yeah.
So then use your body length like you did before, walking into her to push her towards the threshold again.
Okay, come on, honey. Come on. Go,
Remember,
go.
no words. Right? Yep. Tap, 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 tap. Yep. Tap, 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 tap. So you want to get, so you want to be flushing from behind her so that your body's pushing her towards towards the tap, the threshold. Tap, tap. Just keep that rhythm. Tap. Better. Yep. Tap, tap. You can use her leash a little bit to direct her away from Mike. Tap, tap,
Come
tap,
on.
tap. There you go. Right
Now,
there.
the other side.
Excellent.
Sitting.
Now she's sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. And then you can relax.
Okay.
Right. So here you had to do a little bit more because of the nervousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened was the door knock triggered her.
Mm-hmm.
You backed her off.
Mm-hmm.
She settled. You opened the door. Then there was the energy of the greeting. You had to shut it down, right? And then you went back to finish. And then she barked again, right? It was a tiny bark, but it was still a bark.
Yeah.
You have to shut that down. But then she started moving around.
Yeah.
So that's her, like, so you went from 10 to like 8 to 4
Mm-hmm.
to 1, right? And you need her at 0.
Mm-hmm.
So that last tap, I wanted to see if it would have just caused her to go, like, let's say, lay back down on the couch over there to settle. But instead, it confused her, and she came over to your space.
Right, she did.
So then you have to confirm for her, like, no, you're not coming back over here. That tap meant that you need to relax even more. Okay. So then you had to flush her out. You know, you chased her for a little bit. That was fine. And then she goes back to the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So she's thinking right now, oh, the tap doesn't mean to return like it normally does.
Right.
In this setting, it means that I need to calm down and then go into this area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So very important that you shut it down every time.
Yeah.
If this, you know, it'll take like a handful of times. What'll happen is once you back her up the first time, everything already attaches to it. Like she knows, like, all right, mom's backed me up. There's no point in barking anymore because she's just going to come over here and quiet me down.
Yeah, she's just sitting under the table, just as nice as can be.
Yeah. So, and I don't care what she does. I just care that she's not over the threshold.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the reason for the facing her, like, let's say she's, so because some dogs will learn to not cross the threshold.
Yeah.
Stay in the back, and they'll be barking in the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So you may see that with her. If that happens, all you need to do is come out to where she can see the front of your body, and you're directed towards her, and you give a couple of taps. And what you're doing is, it's like for me growing up, if I was doing something I shouldn't, and my mom would look at me, that look meant stop it. You know, it's the same kind of process for dogs, that when you go over there and you give her that forward body language, that communication is, I disagree with what you're doing, but the remote collar is what allows, it was what connects you even from that distance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you only need to be really close to her is when you're having to flush her into the place.
The area.
But
Yeah.
if she's already in the area, don't feel like you have to walk all the way to her to be here, because the e-collar closes that gap.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Can we try that again?
Sure. Okay.
So for Ruthie, go ahead and like just pet her and stuff, just to get her out of the mindset.
Yeah.
To see if she'll reset.
How are you? Good. Hi. Should he go ahead?
Yeah, he's ready. right? So what's she doing?
She's coming to the door, but she's not
Right?
barking.
So tap, tap. So you want to address her.
Oh,
Right, don't.
out the hall.
So go ahead and bring her in. We're gonna try that again.
Okay.
So you want to send Ruthie back every time there's a knock.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't want her in that space.
Okay.
So what would have happened is, Mike knocked. It's
Yeah.
not about stopping the barking. Okay, it's about getting her to clear the space to calm her down.
Okay.
Then stops the barking.
Okay. All right.
Okay, because what happens is, you do this 2 to 3 times, she's gonna know it's Mike,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
she's gonna stop barking. Okay, so we're gonna try it one more time, but this time don't open the door until we have Ruthie.
Cleared the space. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
You want to kind of talk to her?
Yeah. She's fine. Yeah. Okay. Just.
Okay, what is she doing now?
Staying in the space.
Okay. Is she standing?
She is sitting, just sitting, looking out the window, like nice, right on the carpet, right at the boundary.
Okay, so go ahead and step a little bit closer to her.
To her, okay.
Yep. And about hold right there. Make sure you're just facing her. Okay.
Mhm.
And give a couple of taps.
Now she's coming to me.
Okay, now flush her back. Right?
Now she's going way far away.
Okay, and then let her settle
Okay.
and tell me when she settles.
She is settled right now.
Where is she at?
She's under the table, which is her favorite place.
Okay, she laying down, standing?
She's standing, but, oh no, sitting. She's sitting rather. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and go to your door. Yep, go to open it.
Should we?
And let's take a peek at Ruth and see what she's doing.
She's just sitting under the table looking at us.
Good.
That's kind of her safe place under
Yeah.
the table.
Yeah, she likes that.
That's fine, yeah. So the reason why this time there wasn't anything is because the first one was a surprise.
Yeah.
Then the second one was like, oh, it's Mike.
Yeah.
And the third one was like, we've already done this, right?
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. So even though, and this is very common, you might find that Ruthie will learn to stay within the threshold naturally. Like you'll see her gravitate to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so she ends up thinking that it's the threshold when really it's the barking and her emotional state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So here, even though she didn't bark, I said tap because I want to make sure I get that in her head that I need you to settle.
Yeah.
So if she really understood the concept, because she's still learning, what you would have seen is when you tapped her that time, she wouldn't have came out. She would have went deeper back.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But here she came out.
Mm-hmm.
So then you flushed her back and then she went under the table and she settled. And then we go to open the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's very common that my clients will say like, oh, Jesse, the dog already learned the threshold. They'll stay back there. I'm like, make sure you tap them at least one time.
Yeah.
Because what happens is they go behind the threshold because they learn the pattern, but then right when you go to open the door, they start barking.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so they're in the right place physically, but we need to put her in the right place mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's all about calming her down. The threshold is a visual for the human. Okay, it makes it easier for like, where's Ruthie supposed to go? Somewhere over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Expect this to be a bit more difficult in an organic setting.
Right.
Which is when, a guest just comes over. You have two situations. You have your guest waiting at the door and you have Ruthie's behavior inside.
Mm-hmm.
You always want to address Ruthie completely before you address your guest.
Yeah.
Okay. So there tends to be 5 triggers. There's the, buzzer, doorbell, door knock. Then it's grabbing the handle, opening the door, seeing or hearing the person, and then the person coming in. Okay. So the first time you did it, there was the 3 of them. There was the knock. Then when you opened it and you guys greeted each other, and then once the night came in, right? There was the 3 buttons.
Yeah.
And each time I had you address her by going to face her and tap her.
Tap her, right?
You will continue that pattern, and eventually you'll just back her up. She'll go past the threshold and chill out, and you don't have to do anything. Okay. But you want to definitely get that out of the way in the beginning, because that's what she learns. She goes, okay, when this happens, I feel this, I do this, everything's calm, guest comes in, no big deal, I'm relaxed, okay. Okay. So now she has guidance in what she's supposed to do when a guest comes over. Okay.
Yeah.
If it takes, good thing is you guys have a hallway, so you don't have to worry, like in the wintertime, you don't have to worry about a guest waiting out there or the rain.
Yeah, they're safe.
But you do want to when it's going to be a guest, like if it's one of your daughters or something, like it's whatever, right? Because she's going to settle, she's going to be excited, whatever. But if it's going to be a guest that like she's nervous around or whatever, you do want to make sure you do this exercise. It gets quick. It ends up going very quickly once she gets the concept. And your main focus, of course, is to not just only direct her, but to settle her down.
Right.
So I prefer to always get at least one tap in, because that one tap is what settles the nerves. Okay, you're giving her that physicality, just like outside. Right, how much it settled her. But now you're doing that inside.
Right.
Now every case is different. In some cases, the owners will address the dog for a few months with the e-collar, and then they end up like growing out of it and not needing it, like within the home. In other cases, they'll need the collar to settle the dog down in the beginning, but then after 15 minutes, they'll remove it and the dog's perfectly fine. In other cases, they keep it on, and they have to keep it on because the dogs either, they get too nervous. So I'm not sure how Ruthie's going to progress. Ruthie knows, and only time will tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of my clients avoid having people come over because of the dog.
Yeah. Right.
And then I'll tell them, like, as soon as you address this, like, you can start having people come over, and it's a fast turnaround. Now with COVID, everything's kind of thrown off and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you do this once a week, like this isn't anything obedience wise that you're teaching, it's just communication.
Right.
That's why it's so quick.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why it was so quick, because obedience we have to teach, and I give you the exercise and then go practice that for a week and then come back, right? But this is just about communication. This is just go to your room and relax. Okay. Now, let's say your guest comes in and they kind of settle in that little living room area there. When do you think Ruthie could greet your guest?
I mean, if they're settled in, she could come up,
Right.
Yeah, they've taken their coats and they've sat down, and we're just, in our group setting, she could come over then. Not while we're getting, they're getting settled, like taking coats off and standing. I don't want, when they're standing around before we kind of settle in, I don't want her like all over them. I'd rather her be in her space.
Right. So, but you've put up a threshold.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if everybody's in that living room area and she's in that threshold, right? Something has to happen to let her know that you can come out your room now.
Come out, right.
Now we wouldn't say break here,
okay,
like we do with obedience, because for whatever reason, when you tell a dog break after this exercise, they get excited again, and we're trying to keep her calm. Okay. So there's two scenarios here. One would be one of your guests walks into that dining room area, the threshold, and since they cross the threshold and they move into Ruthie's space, that removes the threshold, and you'll see her possibly greet them and like sniff them and stuff, which is perfectly fine, because now they've entered her space. Okay. Once that happens, you're fine. She can walk around. She's loose. Okay. Second way is you go over to Ruthie and very calmly, no words, just give her a couple of pats and just walk away. And that does the same thing without triggering her. Okay. And I've seen it time and time again where people tell the dog break and the dog just comes shooting out, So, but when the people just cross the threshold and go into the space, the dog will come over calmly and like sniff them, greet them, and then like walk away and then like just settle. Okay. If a bigger energy goes into that threshold, you're probably gonna have to taper her down, right? Because of the energy.
What if she's,
Should we, put you up for-
yeah, I think we're
There's-
done with you.
Yep.
What if she jumps on somebody? Like, when she's,
Yes, sir.
she does it when I come home. And I don't mind because I love her and then I'll pat her and she'll settle down. But what
Sure.
if, what if they come over to her and, she comes out, she's happy. She's not being aggressive. She's just showing I'm happy to see you. But
Right.
she does it by, instead of just walking up and getting petted, she's being more overtly physical.
Right. So for the jumping, you have a couple of approaches. For you, it's fine if you enjoy it. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't bother me at all. No.
But I would make it a rule of like maybe guests that come over. So technically, we shouldn't see any jumping after this exercise because you've
Okay.
calmed her down.
Mm-hmm.
Because jumping isn't the problem. What's the problem?
Her mental state, like
Which is
that she's agitated with the
Yeah.
guy.
right. So she's either nervous, or if it's someone she knows and trusts, she's excited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you do this exercise, remember you're calming her down.
Right.
So technically, we shouldn't see the jumping behavior because
Okay.
we resolve the excitement. Okay.
Okay.
However, if your guest goes, Ruthie,
Yeah, loudly, like is aggressive with her, which some
correct,
of them are gonna be.
correct, then she's going to trigger again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So very important that, I would suggest you tell your guests like, hey, we're training Ruthie. Please don't greet her until we tell you to. Right. So that you can either invite her over or have the guest move into that threshold. Because
Yeah.
we don't want them to say Ruthie and then she charges across the house over the threshold because you'd have to reinforce that. Okay. So once the threshold has been resolved and she comes up to greet them, if they give her a lot of excitement, she's going to jump.
Yeah.
All you would do is you would tap on the collar. Again, no words, because you're trying to teach Ruthie, even though they're excited, you don't jump on people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And these are on your guests. Now, if they don't mind that she jumps on them, I would suggest putting it on invitation,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Ruthie up or something, right? Because if she just learns I can jump on people
Yeah.
when they talk to me, whatever, it's going to be a habit that she does to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you put rules to it, like she can learn, I can jump on mom, I can jump on, the family, but everybody else is off limits.
Mhm.
She will learn that.
She can differentiate eventually.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
It just takes consistency. Okay. So it's kind of like with the barking thing where you said, how will she know when to bark and when I don't want her to bark?
Yeah.
Right. Because it's association.
Right.
So when you correct her for jumping, I would be, at that her obedience level. You're
Mhm.
not trying to be so high that you spook her, that
Mhm.
she's not going to want anything to do with people.
Yeah.
And what I do is if she's jumping on the person, I just tell them to stand still and I just remote as I'm bumping it.
Yeah.
And eventually she removes herself.
Yeah.
When she removes herself, they can pet her, good girl, good girl. If she jumps up, they stop petting, you remote her.
Yeah.
She settles, good girl, good girl. So she'll learn when I jump on you, I get automatically corrected. But if I'm calm and my paws are on the ground, I get the praise that I'm wanting.
No command, like you wouldn't say down.
So the problem, again, the issue is if you say off or down,
Mm-hmm.
is technically she can jump on you until you say off or down.
Got it. Uh-huh.
Now for you, because you allow it, right,
Mhm.
is you would need a cue,
Yeah.
right? Because you're telling her you can jump on me, but then when I say off, you have to stop,
Mhm.
okay? But for your guest, if you're just teaching the rule of don't jump on me, then there's no cue.
Mhm.
Now, if the guest says, hey, Ruthie, and gets her to jump on them, they would need a cue to remove her
Mhm.
because you started it.
Mhm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't want Ruthie to start things on her own, right, for certain people. But then if they invite her to do so, it would only be fair that they have a cue to tell her to stop because they would be unfair to just remote her out of nowhere. Because
Right.
she's not going to know when to stop.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Other questions?
No. Well, she's got there's somebody coming at 2. I'll try it with him.
Okay. And expect this to be harder with people she knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I always suggest people, like, if you can get a friend to practice with and be successful, it makes everything else easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Even with the territorial stuff, it makes it super easy. Just remember to follow through, and you have to, use that body language to flush her back. And anytime you hear that bark, you have to go, turn, make sure you face her, give her that communication. If I disagree with what you're doing, wait till she looks like she's settled, and then turn around and finish off with your guest.
Getting her where she needs to
So
be.
it's very step by step.
Yeah.
If you try to rush it, it's not going to go well. She's not going to know what you're wanting from her. So, take your time. You do a few good ones in the beginning, and it'll get very easy, okay?
Okay. All right.
Anything else?
Thanks a lot.
No worries.
We'll see you on Friday.
On Friday, and if you need anything else, let me know, okay? And I'll get in touch with your dog walker. I got your email.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.